We're here with Larry Warren, the architect who designed this amazing building right behind us. Now, Larry is a local Barbadian who has done so much work here on the island and in the Caribbean. So thanks so much for being here with us, Larry.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure being here and seeing this beautiful building again.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we'd love to hear a little bit about what makes the building special and what went into the specific design requirements that the client had. So if we could, where should we start?
Well, we can start on the seaside if you want, or we can walk through.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's head to the seaside.
Okay.
So as we're heading there, we're headed straight back here, and this is where the cars would pull up. Is that-
Correct. Yeah. So the idea was that you would have valet here drop off, and then we really wanted to try and make the ground level, which it was the landscape level. We wanted to try and make that free of as much parking and cars as possible, and just set it over to the actual enjoyment. So that's why everything can go downstairs and park, and then of course you can go into your private elevator and go up, or you can come to the lobby level.
It feels very luxurious.
Yes, yes.
Here. Even down to the difference in the pavers here.
Yes, that's right. Again, this was designed to be at the top end of the luxury scale. As I mentioned before, the hardware and everything is handmade in Belgium. The fabricators and the metalwork, and indeed the atrium, they're from France.
And let's head right into the atrium. Yeah, because this is so unique. When we were in here, we just couldn't believe from the ceiling height. And it feels pretty amazing. So Larry, I'd like to hear a little bit more about you and architecture. Were you always on the island?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Venezuela, and I basically went to Canada and trained in architecture. Did a master's at the University of Manitoba. Very luckily, when I returned to Barbados, I was involved with an architectural firm called Robertson Ward, who were doing just elegant, beautiful homes. And that started my career. And, essentially, I specialize in luxury tourism products, villas. So this fits into my whole repertoire,
And how about more larger hotels, that sort of thing?
Well, again, because of my background in Sandy Lane, I was the architect for the refurbishment, restoration of Sandy Lane. And that was a wonderful experience, because historically Sandy Lane is the epitome of luxury standard in the island. And I've always tried to specialize in projects that have a custom side to them, but to give the ultimate attention to detail. Because as you can see when we're going through the project here, everything is all about attention to detail and trying to make sure that the client understands that you're giving them a real custom product. So I really place a lot of emphasis on that. As I now approach my 7th decade, I'm now seem to be a little bit more into St. Nicholas Abbey and the train, and I just kind of keep my architecture at a level now that keeps me interested and enjoying it, because I'll never stop. Architects don't ever seem to retire.
And you were telling us about the Belgian company. Is this it here?
Yes.
So this was a custom?
Yes, so this has all been custom manufactured. We had worked with this company in France, Atelier Saint-Jacques, and they are specialists in metalwork. Not only did they build all the railing here, but they built this beautiful atrium.
Oh, wow.
And it's amazing the diversity of work they do, bending all the glass and everything. But the railing and a lot of the workmanship has been done by artisans that kind of put it at a very custom level. Atelier Saint-Jacques are selected as for the manufacture of very elegant, beautiful work in the refurbishment of Notre Dame, the cathedral in Paris.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they've participated in it. They look after all of the Palace of Versailles, all of their metalwork and gates and everything.
Okay, that is high end. So can you tell us about the elevators here? You mentioned that you wanted to design this with, you know, a lot of privacy between the potential tenant, you know, the owners.
Yeah. So the whole intent with accommodations beyond means of this level is to try and give the owners choices. And the elevators themselves are very customized, made in the United States, specifically for this project. And we have 2 elevators. We have one, which is the elevator that will take the visitor up to the apartment. And then we have a service elevator. Now, you don't see the service elevator at this level because it comes from the lower level up. Yeah. And it enters directly into the unit where it can now take advantage of the kitchens and so on. It links the apartment with the lower level where all the servicing happens. Quite extensive, actually. Yeah.
And all the 18 cars as well.
18 cars. There is a big aquarium down there. There's common services like a cafe and gym, a full-size gym with spa and everything.
Fantastic.
And that then leads out onto the swimming pool terrace. And it generally just gives a potential owner the options of having all of that benefit of a condominium, common services, security, all of that is, you know, included in it. But at the same time, it doesn't demand that they have to interact necessarily unless they want to. Yeah.
Well, great. Should we head down there so we can see some of where all the services would be? It's a fantastic staircase.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's really a tribute to the craftsmanship that puts it together and bending of the glass and everything, you know.
I love how the stairs kind of flare out at the end. It's very French.
Yes, that's right.
And the name, you know, it being sort of a little, I'm guessing here, but a little bit Spanish and a little bit French. Is that right?
Ateliers is, it would be, I think, it would be a common phrase used in France for specialists who do fabrication and work, you know.
Or the chateau in general, what style would you call it?
Well, it would be a Palladian type of, because of course the arches and the columns are very Palladian. But then what happens is, particularly when you see the gazebos and the pavilions, then we kind of blend it with a bit of a West Indian look to it. That softens it, you know. And very much that has happened inside too, and externally.
And so, okay, where we are, I see the
aquarium.
The aquarium, that's fantastic.
Yeah, this was specially custom made with glass and everything. Of course, it's backlit. And then the intention was that this would be like a interactive cafe arrangement where you could come and have a morning, you know, look at TV and so on.
Sure.
And again, if you wanted to meet with people, it gives you the opportunity to meet with them.
And
the cafe
could be maybe an event space too.
Yes,
It's a very generous amount of space for this.
Yeah, it is.
And back, there's a gym as well, or some treatment rooms, that sort of thing?
That's over behind here. And then we have the entry to the spa, and there's some treatment rooms. And then this leads on all the way back then into the car parking. And then almost to the road is where we have all the back of house systems, generators, and so on.
Okay, wow. You must have all the floor plans just in your head, even still.
Well, I had to do a little bit of homework, you know, to remember it all again. You know,
have to switch to sunglasses now.
Yeah, it sure is. It really is a beautiful day.
Okay, so this is one pool of many.
Yes.
So this is the largest common pool?
This is the largest common pool with a kind of like a jacuzzi at one end. And then 2 pavilions. And the idea with the 2 pavilions was not only symmetry, which is really part of what this building is, it's also to give, again, an opportunity for the guests who might want to have a reservation, to have like tea or an event. You could still have that without the others not having use of one of them, you know? So,
and then you'd have your own. So this would be residence number 1.
That's right.
But
and then it steps right back like that.
So tell us about the sight line here, you know, what we're looking at and how that would affect how it would feel to live here.
Yeah, so right here, one of the most important aspects of this design is the garden in front of it. And that creates another softening effect that closes off the privacy view, the view of somebody having a function in their private. And that was the intent of the whole stepped configuration, as I mentioned. By not allowing the person to get to the edge to look down, you are continuously viewing over the level below, you know. And as it goes higher, you don't realize that this building is 75 feet tall, you know.
Right. Well, when we were looking at the various levels, I kept thinking each view was just so nice, and it didn't seem that much different from one to, you know, they seemed very similar. And I think I'm picking up on that now. Yeah.
Well, you know, if you look at a traditional building type, which would be like a vertical face, even though you might have had balconies that stepped out, you never get the sensation that you are actually living on your own ground floor unit, even up in the air.
Right.
Here, you get this feeling that you're up in the air, but you have the sensation that you're on your own ground floor unit, you know, because of the stepped effect, opening up the skylight, you know.
Yeah. And how was the intention of using up this, you know, having this much of a setback?
Yeah.
You need to have the pool. I imagine a lot of thought was put into, you know, the landscaping and.
Yeah, it was, and you know the setback from the sea is important because, you know, so many times people think that it's important to get close to the sea, but really what you're doing is you're giving up the most valuable space. So we try to create a generous yet useful space, and you know this becomes, when you really think of it after you finish building it, this is really the most important outdoor space.
Right.
So it's important not to skimp on it.
So you could have built everything right here where the pool is.
Well,
then.
yeah, you could and couldn't because there are government regulations, but nonetheless, it's always a good idea to be out back. And these coconut trees are existing.
Oh,
so
they were.
yeah, so you can just see how wonderful the symmetry of the whole thing is.
Yeah.
Those were existing here on site.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Can we go up? Let's, should we head up?
And what I love about them is one bends left and one bends right.
Yeah, that is just perfect.
Yeah. But you know, little details like we have created over the time, in particularly in my luxury homes, are these really customized ways of dealing with swimming pools, where the water is actually flowing over into this groove here. So when you look at this swimming pool and it's full, it's just one sheet of glass going right onto the terrace.
Oh, I didn't realize.
There's no edge of it.
I would have thought it would be here, but it's not.
No, it's here.
That's fantastic.
So the water is running over this, down this groove, and this groove is picking up the water coming off the terrace, and the two things are separate.
Okay.
So these are details that we've developed over time, and they kind of make a little bit of customization that comes across.
Right.
And of course, with the handrails into the swimming pool, they're all made by Atelier Saint-Jacques out of a special kind of metal that really is quite resistant to chlorine and salt and so on.
I know you tried to use a lot of like local things. I know that mahogany is big here, but besides the walls, what else did you try to use?
Well, we generally try to keep it like the more so coral stone, but actually carved coral stone. So a lot of this stone here is actually carved out of pieces, and it's that kind of attention to detail using the natural material. Right. Unfortunately, this building, well, not unfortunately, but the nature of this building is that it wouldn't have a lot of timber like we might use in our smaller homes, you know.
And in the smaller homes, you also try to incorporate that local?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And what other woods is it? I just saw someone said, "Oh, that's a mahogany tree."
Yeah.
Is that, what other woods are there?
Mahogany is really the premier local wood. Our other woods are not really. I mean, we do have things like cedar and so on, but it is generally the wood that would be indigenous, you know.
And it's cedar shingles usually for the roof?
Western red cedar shingles, but they would come from Canada.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So when you really think about it from a purchasing perspective or marketing perspective, there's very little projects where you literally walk into your own living space.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I know in New York there are a lot of buildings that do that, but not in the tropics.
Yeah.
It is really quite unique, and that was the built-in whole desire to really try and step up another level above anything else that was in the island.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it does have that cool like keyed elevator feel. Yeah. But it's not like a little Tribeca loft that's
no,
you know,
exactly.
It's a huge space.
Yeah. And here again we have the classical columns, which is like a more simplified sort of Renaissance type of architecture. But still generally then add in the motifs of carving the stone to show the flexibility of how the stone can be carved. And you know, it showcases the workmanship in Barbados.
Well, this is often imitated, right? With
correct.
You know, that's with just limestone.
Yeah.
But this is the real core.
This is the real thing.
Yeah.
And what happens when you use real stone, you have an unintended consequence in that you know it's real because it's not perfect.
Yeah.
You know, and when you try to copy it, somehow human nature wants to make it perfect. You know, and you lose that subtlety, softness.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this room, what do you envision? I'm sure that you see.
So the whole idea here is, first of all, the grand entry through to the sea, swimming pool, and you would have had an elegant sitting area here against the wall, and it would be spacious, maybe even with a back-in furniture here. And what was very typical in a lot of West Indian homes is a big bouquet of flowers somewhere here on a table. So you would kind of get that feeling of walking through. A lovely long, because the depth of this living room is quite spacious, you know. So it gives you an opportunity to have a nice long dining room table. And then again, a nice credenza on the back wall, which is just, you know, sets it off with the elegance and kind of just the nice simplicity and symmetry of the whole space, you know.
And how about these 4 niches?
Yeah. So these again, sometimes, a lot of times people will want to put vases or statues, and they want them highlighted, you know, and that was just intended as anchor points. But again, in the tropics, what sometimes will happen is that you just would put something like a lovely plant in a pot in front of it, and it just kind of like a backdrop. The combination between the planting and the architecture gives a nice kind of feel to it, you know?
Well, I think it's really nice because it gets to showcase that workmanship.
Yeah, it does.
Sort of twisted rope.
Twisted rope. You know, so the twisted rope just changes and goes back down the other side, and it's wonderful. I mean, this material is no longer used anywhere in the world. Barbados is really very lucky to have it, and it's no longer used by architects. Yeah, because they don't put a lot of value on the richness that it has. And when I say richness, I mean in texture and quality and light and acoustics too. Yeah, really wonderful.
And the floors, we have travertine.
This is crema marfil with an inset, and this would again be something that we would have used throughout the project. Yeah, with very elegant borders.
Yeah.
And not strong, so that it creates a nice kind of background effect when you put your furniture in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that it's reversed in some of the units, which is clever. Also, the emblem here, I've noticed a couple of different emblems.
Yes.
Those are really cool.
Yeah, well, those are emblems that most of them are actually, you know, historic. You know, they exist in certain buildings in Italy and so on. And really what we're just doing is trying to give individuality to each unit, you know, by changing it around. The covered area and the sky is important. It gives you this feeling, I know you're up in the air, but it gives you this feeling that this is all mine, and even everything beyond this is mine, you know?
Right, it does.
And and the fact that you cannot look down on your neighbor gives you the comfort to know that the person above is not looking down on you. So right away, this then becomes even more private,
right.
You know, even more of a treasure to you.
And it also frames the water so nicely.
Yeah, it is really pretty for that. And that's one of the reasons why we chose this glass, you know, which has a German company specially manufactures the motors for it. And I believe Atelier St. Jack did these too. And this was intended to have a seamless look of the whole thing.
Yeah, it really does. And when we walked in here, you're never sure because, you know, you see some of the marketing stuff and everything. But when we actually walked in here and just saw that, it was like, wow, that really is something.
These bedrooms are really in kind of like fun because you walk through the bathroom and the dressing area, but these were never intended as the primary way to get into the bedroom. It would always been from the terrace.
Yeah, okay.
And what we were suggesting here is there's sometimes when, you know, the weather is terrible and people don't want to go outside to come back in. On the benefit of the fact that it's all secure, so why not walk in from the front? So we gave this as an option to come in.
Yeah, I like it. It makes its own little suite.
That's right.
So, I mean, as a secondary bedroom, this is a really good size.
Yeah, good size. And what is also important, a good height.
Yes.
Because since we've already established the height relative to the scale of the building, because from an architectural perspective, we're trying to make sure it looks correct. Then you get the opportunity to take this is very classical in historic buildings. The room is small, but the height is there.
Yeah.
And that changes it. It gives it kind of like a grandness, even though it's not a huge bedroom. It has a nice feel and a presence to it, you know.
We always joke that there's very lucky kids in, you know, if this was a kid's room. Very lucky kids in our channel.
Yes.
You imagine, I could see bunk beds or something. You know, you have the ceiling height for it.
But again, you know, I have to tell you, time has moved on so quickly. I'm guessing it's 8-10 years. Today, they would never have used coral stone so extensively.
Yeah.
And it's just because, one, it's not available anymore as it used to be. And this is the uniqueness about this building, is the extensive use of coral stone.
Yeah. Well, interior and exterior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, when you put artwork on it and you start adding the interior finishes, the whole thing just comes alive. Even as an empty space, it has a nice feel to it.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah. And I mean, they must have had trucks and trucks, or I mean, how much? Do you have any idea how many?
You would think it maybe is about 70,000 square feet of coral stone.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I mean, look at this room here and the height and everything is carved, you know. So it's all done by hand and
it's beautiful molding.
Yeah. And then detailing like the curtain recess, so that, you know, you could have motorized curtains and they could just go back.
Yeah, no soffits hiding your air conditioning or anything. Everything's in there.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, let's head outside.
This gives you the perspective of viewing from 180, you know, across the whole view. And it really epitomizes the feel of having a grand residence up in the air.
Yeah. And it does feel like no one else is near us. You know,
exactly.
I mean, that's...
Yeah. And as I said, the real strength of that is the fact that when you're on this terrace, you know that no one's looking down on you. And that really gives you a lot of comfort to know that it's your space.
And the balusters here, what are those? What's the material there?
Those would be casted stone balusters, casted here on site.
How does that? So casted. How does that?
So what they do is make a fiberglass mold, and then they would cast them using coral dust and white cement. Yeah, and that forms the casting of it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and the top too, on the top of it. Yeah. Coral stone is a little too soft to do that sort of thing carved out of it.
Right.
In Europe or areas where they're using granite, you can do that with granite or even some sort of marble stone, you know.
Yeah.
But not with coral stone.
Are there any other details out here that, you know, I might not pick up on, but you would say
Yeah.
was a lot of extra work?
So
or,
what we did, we brought, you would have seen from when we were on the seaside looking up, we brought this pavilion in deliberately to kind of just give this outdoor feel to the terrace.
Right.
You know, so it's like a miniature pagoda sitting on the terrace, and very, very reminiscent of West Indian type of architecture. Kind of, in a sense, gives a play with the more stone, the heavier stone formality. And here you imagine having tea or breakfast early on the morning when the sun is to the east and this beautiful blue seascape.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. And this plunge pool here?
Yeah. So with the plunge pool, again, it's rimless. So water is flowing across his top and down the face.
Okay.
So it's like literally like a sheet of glass that is extending the whole view out onto the sea. And we picked the color of the tile was very, very close to what you're seeing there, like a bluey green.
And this here, because people of course want to take advantage of the view, so you built in this sort of bench seat
That's
here.
right, yeah.
That's really cool.
And there's no steps in, because the whole idea was, even for an elderly person, is they could sit like this and then just do this.
Yeah. No, it's really nice. Wow. And we're facing west now, so we
Correct,
get the
west.
you get the sunset every day here.
Yeah, beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
And then on this side we have another little covering. This is the primary bedroom over here?
Yes, that's the master.
Yeah.
And what we've tried to do here by introducing this solid element, particularly with the bar and that, is to give that some privacy.
Okay.
You know, so that it's not just opened right up with it.
They could even put something here if they really
could.
wanted to.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, you have that opportunity.
Yeah, or even to introduce potted plants, bigger plants like this.
That might be a nice
define
way to
it.
do it. Yeah. But this is all the master here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the master. Thanks very much.
Okay. So tell us about this room.
Well, again, this beautiful master, full width across the terrace, all coral stone with a niche for the bed and the bed head and so on. It has symmetry again. As an architect, I have a big thing about symmetry. And the entry door here, pocketed sliding door, and the access into the dressing area, which is really quite interesting because we've built in a lot of features here. So this master really has a complete suite for like a businessman or high net worth client who has a lot of, times where they might need to work in their business or in their office. This has a connection all the way through. And then again, things like the pocketed recess for the curtains, which we look at in terms of how we can black out the room and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the air conditioning, the recessed lights. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And the intention would be for the interiors to have wall sconces, hang-in fixtures.
So anytime we see a bare bulb like that, it's really just a box where you could install your own.
Yeah, install your own. Sometimes we would use coral, and other times you'll do, it gives the interior designer an opportunity to bring their own flair into it, as to what they want. Yeah.
Now, when you have these sort of, these sort of dots here, is there a specific word for that breaks up the tile? It's very cute.
It's just like you call them inserts, really. And sometimes we would do them circulars or square or diagonal. And it's just intended to give a uniqueness. You'll see throughout this unit that this would be the style.
No, I really like it. Yeah. And now we're heading back into the luxurious
So
entrance.
we have a nice, spacious dressing area with a lot of presence to it. It's not like a little room or anything like that, And it really gives you a real nice feeling of space, and you can imagine how the owners would use it.
Yeah, you're at no lack for closet space.
And these all backlit and everything.
Yeah. And then
this
might be my favorite. I love what you've created here.
Yeah. So the bathrooms use iconic statuario marble, which is so timeless and is the premium marble today used. This is so elegant because it has this timeless look to it. You know, you don't get tired of it.
Yep.
And yet it still can be book matched as it is there. In other areas, it's just slayed individually with
but you see how you keep all the lines together.
Yeah, so this would be a slab that was cut up and then laid in a sequence.
Yeah, and I imagine it's more expensive to get the entire long slab than, yeah.
So this would have been book matched, so that the pattern here and there.
But here it's that reflection.
Yes, that's right.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And then the shower.
Yes.
How many pieces do we have here?
Yeah, so here we have 2 shower heads here, his or hers, and then you have nice marble ledges, you know, areas for your toiletries. And then, of course, if you really want to be in the tropical rain, you can have a rain shower come down, you know. So.
And about 14 body jets.
Exactly.
It's great. Yeah. And when you're thinking about this elegant curve, you know, how did you come up with that? It's so neat.
Yeah. So that is as a result of the way the external architecture is set up, and so it was just a matter now of bringing it into here with the vaulted ceilings. So it's a double vault, one going this way and one going that way, that intersect to create the shape.
Yeah. So this vault, because it looks like a cathedral, or you know, this shape is the architecture of the building. This shape, does that follow the architecture, or is it just?
Well, this is just a wonderful way of creating these nice shapes, these elegant shapes, is to have 2 vaults interacting with one another.
Right. Yeah. I may have thought to keep that, but I wouldn't have known. You know, that's just very clever. Yeah. And we have a third stone here inlaid.
Yeah. So just a little highlight, you know, and that's pick up the dark wood. And and the little details here, like the way the basin is shaped down into it. So this marble is quite thick. So as you don't see a very thick edge, it's just very elegant the way to do it, you know, like that.
And usually it's as thin as possible, and then they have another piece to overhang it.
Yeah. A nice apron in front here.
Yeah.
All detailed in a very classical way.
Yeah. You know? That's fantastic.
And even the trims around the light fittings, they were all done by Atelier Saint-Jacques too. So a lot of effort and thought has gone into.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic bathroom. Should we head up even a little higher to the rooftop?
Yeah.
Okay. This is amazing.
So this is real entertaining space.
Yeah.
Because imagine if you were the homeowner below and you said to yourself, look, I'm going to have this really extravagant party with all my friends and everything. They could come from the lower level up to this level, not go through your private home, and you could party up here. Yeah. You know, and I think it's pretty solid. I don't think anyone's going to hear anything. No. That's right. So again, real flexibility.
Yeah.
You know, and aside from the fact that it has such a wonderful view. You know.
And this is the first place I've seen with these louvered shades.
Yeah. So we did this because we've realized that this was intended as an outdoor space, but we still knew that there was going to be the need for you know, some weather protection. Sure. Especially if you think about in here could have soft furnishings, and you're quite exposed here. So this gives you an opportunity to adjust the louver. They're operable louvers, and you can adjust them as you might want. Not even sure they're working, but we can try. See?
Yep. Nice.
And you can adjust them as you might want.
That's great.
And very simple. This is a very classic West Indian design.
Yeah.
A pin is put in here on the side, and that just holds it in place. And then if you want to just have it half, you just adjust where the next hole is.
Right.
Yeah. Again, these are in really excellent shape.
Yeah.
Really excellent shape. after, you know.
But it feels, this feels like a party.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great.
And we really were very interested to make sure that you had this feeling of being, you know, free to view the whole, and this is why we raised in here, or I should say we lowered the balustrading, so that you're not viewing through the balustrading at this level.
You're right, I didn't even notice that. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So it's like a
And then
podium that you're on.
right.
Yeah.
And you can have a lot of green here, and these keep you, you know, compliant and safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This stops anybody from getting injured and so on.
Sure, but it's nice because you do really feel like you feel raised up.
That's right. I mean, that is a spectacular view of the north of the island.
Yeah.
Very unusual.
And then over here, we're looking all the way down south. We can see the boats
right.
all the way down.
All the way down. Yeah. And the building is the tallest structure on the western coast for now. Yeah, it's the tallest structure. I believe it's 75 feet tall.
Wow.
And you would never know it because of the fact that it's stepping back away from, and within the context of the trees and so on. Like we made particular of keeping these mahogany trees here and trying to make sure that we kept this, we knowing the scale of the building.
Yeah. Keeping as much as you possibly could.
Possibly could, yeah.
And I can see your symmetry here as well.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like God made it happen.
Yeah. Well, Larry Warren made it happen.
I contributed to it, a team effort.
Well, thanks so much for the detailed tour.
No,
we learned so much.
I appreciate it. I really would happy to see it one day, people living in it, enjoying it.
Absolutely.
I really do. I really. It's been a dream of mine, so I'm happy to see the effort being made.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. And if
Okay.
people want to know any more about you, we'll put your information down below, your website, everything like that.
Thanks very much.
Well, thanks for joining us on this tour with Larry. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and we'll try to get them answered, and I can shoot an email to Larry.
Anything I can do to help, for sure.
And if you enjoyed this video, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe and give the video a like, because that really helps boost it in the algorithm so more people like you can see it. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.